Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Mana and Artifice. Today I'm going to be talking about everything constructs. Oh my gosh. I think this might blow your mind in more ways than one. Alright, so let's start this off. Now that we've got our friend inside this gate, we're going to use our magic broom on top here. It's going to stay outside because if the broom gets within this range of where we're going to have a tree sapling growing, it could be that the tree grows and the broom starts taking damage. I've seen it happen countless times, so it's a good idea to keep your broom away from the stuff that will grow like that, but it should otherwise just, still sweep things and put it in the chest. And I just clicked on top of the chest. Now we're going to need a lot of runes of marking to get this thing to understand what we're doing. We're going to need to have it take an item from a container. It's going to place a block at a position, which is going to be a sapling. Then we need it to chop trees, and then we need it to move. So why do we need it to move? Same thing as I just said about the broom. We don't want it to get suffocated in with saplings being planted in that location. Yeah, it could be a problem. But otherwise, let's see if we can get this sorted, shall we? Now, I'm going to need a temporary block holder position because let's actually move some of these things off the hotbar. We're going to need it to originally take from the chest, which should just be a sneak click, and it makes a pin, which you can then see block a position when set, chest face up. So it will try and take from the top of this chest, which should be reachable for it, not a problem. Next, we'll need it to plant the item here. So if I just click on that location, then we'll need it to chop this location. So another one in that spot. I'm breaking the block, and then we're going to need it to actually move further away. Sneak click to avoid opening this gate. And there we go. I now have 4 positions. Now, there's actually going to need to be a little bit more than what I just did. I will show you in a moment why. So take item from container. First was this one here. Take from the chest. And we're going to need an oak sapling. There we go. And it actually uses this item. It doesn't use it up, but if you do end up canceling the order in these things by hold right click, click left click, and it will cancel this. Then you can actually choose another one or something like that. It shouldn't be too difficult to manage with that once you get the hang of it. Otherwise, you can always just break the lodestar. But in either way, the stuff will just drop out of it onto the ground if you break it. If you cancel something that has one of these pins or its items in it, those won't go back to your inventory immediately. They will go back once you exit the menu. Then they're in your inventory. So keep that in mind. Now let's try that again. Take item from container. We're going to have it take a sapling from this location, which is the top of that chest. Then we're going to have it placing a block at a position. This isn't actual planting. You'd think plant crops. It's not a crop, it's a tree. So you need to place the block at a position. Then you need to tell it what that position is. Grass block face up, which is actually just right there on that spot. Could probably do a little bit better with that, but we'll see how it goes. Then we need it to chop the trees. This is where it's going to get a little different. Oh wait, there's 2 pins because you have to choose an area. So let's actually choose an area, shall we? We're going to make this a little simpler. And we're going to tell it the same spot twice. That shouldn't be too bad of a problem. Just throw that away. And then when we do this, we can say the same spot, this empty location here between the fences. Now, the last spot we're going to have it do is move. Why am I having it move? Remember, we're telling it we need it to walk away from the tree before it starts growing so it doesn't actually take suffocation damage. Now, let's actually see if this works. It may or may not. Either way, I think what I'm going to do is actually take this out and we'll confuse it for a moment. So let's try this. Not working? Right. Well, I forgot that I needed to sneak right click on it and then right click on the block so that it knows what it needs to do. So now it just took that, skipped a step, and just ran to the back. Why did it do that? Well, let's turn it off, open the gate, and have a look at what's going on in its brain, shall we? We sneak right click and it says, I can't take anything from the chest. I don't have any empty hands. I'll skip this step. What's going on? It's just constantly doing the same thing over again. Reason being, it took the sapling and it's like, okay, well, how do I get it to reset? Because if I turn this on, it will actually continue with its previous line of thinking, which could be a very long chain of events. So what I recommend doing is taking your construct control rod, sneak right click and right click somewhere, and then it will drop whatever it's holding for starters, which is a really good start because sometimes you need it to do that for it to actually to continue on. Because as it was saying, it was having a problem because its hand was full. Well, if you then sneak click again, and then you can tell it to follow this command. Uh-oh. What are you doing out here? Daggone it. I forgot to tell it to stay still. So let's try that again. There we go. And now when I do this, it should take the sapling, and with me putting the pin back in here for it to have a spot to place it, it then should work. And there we go. It planted the sapling, and it's going to try and do it again. So that worked to a point. In this case, I only had one sapling in the chest, so it planted it, and then it kept on trying to look for another sapling because it needs to have one in its little grabber hand for it to actually have wandered off to the edge, because it just kept on walking back and forth, which is bad if this tree that is right here ends up sprouting while it's doing that. So it was looking to have something in its hand. If it had another sapling in its hand, it would have stopped doing that. So now that I've put enough saplings in here, and I've got a little bit of bone meal, let's turn this on and see if it actually works. Try that again if I actually, use the control rod to assign this guy. Anyway, try again. Grab the sapling, plant the sapling, comes back, grabs another sapling, and then it walks away and doesn't come back. So therefore it's not going to stay here until the tree grows, in which case it gets excited and it starts doing a chop. You'll start seeing the breaking progress. Things break and all the stuff falls down. The broom will start sweeping up things in its immediate area. And if there may be some that are not reachable, you can always remove this stuff. You can have things do a patrol. You can put some other brooms nearby, etc. Entirely up to you. But basically, you can make yourself a very simple tree farm at the very least. I mean, there's some in here, and it'll take care of itself over time. You can always expand this as well and make it grow more trees in a larger area, but you need to then worry about the saplings being enough as they fall down if there's too many close by. But anyway, let's move on to the next part. Now there is one specific one that I want to talk about, and that's the breeder. That one will need two hands, or two grabber hands. Reason being is that it needs to have wheat in both hands so that it can actually breed the appropriate animals that we're going to be needing. Now I've got a few cows here, some seeds, and of course a magic broom that I'm going to be putting in position. Actually, I'm going to keep the broom in there. I forgot about that. That's what I was going to do. All right, let me make myself a couple of constructs. Now I'm going to make them one out of wood and one out of stone, just so that it's a little bit easier for you to identify them and their differences. Now, you need to stay here for the moment, because we're going to set you up with butchering and harvesting, as well as planting. The breeder's going to be doing the breeding all by itself. We're not going to have it mixed up, but this is just 4 different things that are going to be happening here. So to start with, we're going to have them butcher any excess animals, which is going to require an area. So we're going to choose one corner to the other, and if I hold one and the other, you can see the area that it's going to look for to butcher animals. And when it butchers animals, it keeps 2 adults at all times minimum, and then it will try slowly butchering all the rest. And when it attacks things, it will actually attack them with fire attacks, which should be good for making a cooked meal. Now, in this case, put these 2 pins in place. All right, so besides butchering, we're going to want it to actually plant things, and then we're going to want it to harvest things. Now, the breeding is all going to be done by one of these constructs, and that is because it needs to have 2 hands, one for each of the wheat for the 2 different critters that it's going to be breeding. So if we look at this guy, which why they group up like this, I don't know. It makes it very difficult to try and separate them. Come on, you two. You're not Siamese twins. So if I take this construct here and I look at it, it says melee attack, planting, carrying, crafting. It actually can do more than that. It can do breeding as well. I just don't think it had enough space on that location. So let's actually go over here. We're going to have it take item from container. We're going to have it seeds are what's going to be grabbed, and the container is going to be, whoops, I clicked the wrong spot. That's okay, just by sneak clicking you can then replace the existing coordinates on an existing marker, and you can tell it, there we go, grab seeds from here. Then once you grab the seeds, I'm going to want you to plant the crops. Plant the crops in a large area, so therefore we're going to have to choose corners again. Here to here. There we go. So once again, if I hold these in my hands, you can see the little area that it's covering that is going to be planted on. So we choose this, put that in there, and then we can put the other in as well. Going from planting, we're going to have it try harvesting crops if there's any to harvest. It obviously won't if there isn't any there. Again, it will choose an area to look for. So we can just choose corner to corner, and it should work out just fine. So in this case, we're going to put these here, and it'll look for this entire area for it to harvest crops in. But in this case, I'm actually going to take this one here, which if I hold it, I can see where it's at. I'm going to choose the block below, just because the block that the crops are sitting on is actually like a pixel into the block below it. I just want to make sure that it grabs from the proper area. So it's now grabbing kind of like a cube area, going this entire area down a block as well. Now, what it's doing is it's looking for something to butcher, then takes seeds out, plants seeds, and tries harvesting them. That's pretty much it. The broom itself will sweep things into the chest. The other one is going to solely be used for grabbing stuff and using it. So take item, and then breed. The items it's taking are both going to be from the same chest. This one. It's going to look for wheat in this case. So we're going to take this. We need 1 wheat here. Then we do the second one. Same exact thing. This is because it's going to fill up both of its little grabber hands with little pieces of wheat. And then it's going to try breeding in an area. So again, corner to corner. And it should look for some kind of critters that it needs to breed in this area to adults that are ready of the same type. And of course, we then put it in here, pin. And we just need to assign these two to their tasks. So let's start with this one here with the breeding, shall we? Click there. And then we're going to have this one here, if I can get to it, it's being like sat upon by the cow, on this one. All right. Now, just to make things more interesting, I'm going to add another cow to the mix. There we go. And you can see nothing's happening because currently these are both off. So if I turn this one on, one of those cows should then quickly disappear. There we go. You can see it is now flaming that one, cutting it up, and it's going to start trying to plant. And it has planted some stuff already. In fact, I'm going to grab a bit of bone meal, and then I'm going to help this progress with how things are going here. Let's actually see what happens when some of these... Oh, look. So it's killing excess cows beyond 2 that are not babies as well. It then will harvest things that are ripe and ready, and it will replant in this area, which has been really good. It might get pushed around a little bit by the cows, but I mean, it's a nice little enclosed farm that will eventually get you wheat and steak and leather and, of course, seeds if you so need it. But this guy isn't doing anything yet, so let's turn him on. And it will then take some wheat, and then try giving some to the cows, and then make the baby cows. Boop. There we go. Little baby cow. I even got the XP for that one. So there you are. We now have this little automated, self-contained stuff. And we've got a little broom over here that will eventually end up getting pushed into different areas as it gets, nudged around by the different animals. Probably end up cleaning things up as it goes and tossing them all into the chest. So now that we've got this completed, more or less, I mean, we've got like 3 constructs total. But they're doing this little mini farm thing that's just really good. I like it a lot. We're going to go into quite possibly the most complex chain of events one that I've already got set up, thankfully. I just need to get myself a little construct for it. All right, follow me, little friend. Now this one here has a hammer hand. I'm naming you Helv, because that just, yeah. Come on, Helv, let's go over here. And I want you to come a little bit closer, and then I want you to stay here. So, currently, Helv is going to be helping us. Now, I have this little setup here for making runes. I already have all the commands in here. Hopefully I have them all correct. I have not tested as of yet. We'll find out. I have it basically set up with a chest. You don't even need 2. You can just do the 1. I have a rune forge, I have a rune scribing table, and I have a runic anvil. Plus the extra chest. Basically, it's going to be my input chest, output chest. And the idea that we're going to be trying to make here is we're going to be inputting unfired rune plates and Vintium ingots, because that's just what I've got set up at the moment. And we're going to be outputting a bunch of these runes of marking, is the idea at least. Now, I'm going to need at least one of each of these ones to have this start. But I currently am going to be showing you how you can have them do repetitive tasks, plus you can also have them interact with redstone. Simple enough. We'll probably take this one here, and we can, let's take some of these pins back. Perfect, I only needed one of these ones, but I'm going to have this go here, and we're going to have this interact with a redstone. So let's actually do activate block, and we're going to put this rune of marking in here, which is this lever. Then we're going to have Helve over here, just to mess with things. Come over here and interact with this. So if I turn this on, Helve will come over and turn it off. World's most useless device, right? So it's just a fun thing to do. But you can have them turn themselves off when they're done if you want. And that's what I have this currently set up to do. So you can see a ton of commands. I'm also using patrol, using scribe runes and forge runes. These are all new things that I haven't talked about yet on the other ones. So basically, we're having this guy here. I'm going to actually kind of line things up. So I have the lineup here. You can have them line up as you want, spaced out, whatever. I just put them on the ground like this to keep it flat and simple so that you guys can see better what's going on, okay? Because they're going to walk across a primarily flat surface. There's a small dip down here where that is, but don't worry about it. Anyway, let's see if I can line this up. There we go. So you've got them at the top of the screen here. You've got this sequence of events. First, taking from container, they're going to be taking unfired rune plates. Then they're going to be placing that into the forge. Then they're going to be patrolling back and forth, basically from here to here, and then return back to it. Patrolling, by the way, while they're patrolling, you can have up to 4 points. So therefore you can have them do like a little square roundabout. I have this one just going from one point to another, and then it goes to its next task. But the patrolling, while on patrol, it will look for nearby mobs to attack. It will attack neutrals and enemies, but it will not attack passives by default. And that's something to keep in mind. So therefore, you might want to have your dude a little bit beefed up and have some kind of weapon. Hammers are good. They've got a lot of they've got some knockback, but they're like Helve here has, but they don't have a lot of speed to it, and it's not super damaging. Sword arms, in my experience, are probably the best for just offensive stuff, but you can also get away with axes as well. Again, they're a little bit faster, but not quite as damaging as swords are. Then it's going to take from this container, the rune forge, and it's going to place it into the scribing altar, the scribing table. Then it's going to scribe a rune. This is the weird one. This is where you need to insert one of those rune scribing recipes. Now, you don't have to have this in the table like this. Previous episode, I said that this is going to help with constructs. It actually doesn't help in the table. It's just there for you. So you don't have to have that there. It's just a matter of what you have in here. So if you want them to scribe a different rune, you change the pattern. That's it. And make sure that the ingredients that you have in the current setup is going to be different. Then it's going to take from that scribe table the rune that it made, and it's going here, and then it's going to place it onto the rune forge, or the runic anvil. There we go. Sorry, I'm getting my names mixed up. It'll place it onto the runic anvil. Then it will go back to the base container, take from it a Vintium ingot. Then it will place that into the forge again. Then it goes on patrol. Once again, while it's waiting for the ingot to smelt, it will patrol here, stop for about, I don't know, 3-4 seconds, something like that. Go over here, do the same thing, go back, and then it will grab it once it's done. Hopefully it's done. You have to time these things because there's no current wait function. There may be like a wait here for X amount of time. I don't know in the future, but there isn't at the moment. Currently, this just buys you time, but it also ends up putting your construct at a little bit of risk. You could just have them move instead if you want, but then you probably have to add in a lot of move commands because they just move to a spot and quickly go to the next command, whereas patrol, they actually stop and wait. All right, once that's done, it will then take from the rune forge the superheated ingot It will then place it into the container of this anvil, and it will forge the rune. By clicking on here, it just needs a location. Whoops, it just needs a location. It doesn't actually need any other commands for that. And then when it's done forging that, which will take a little bit of time, both rune scribing and rune forging takes a little bit of time, it will then take from that runic anvil the result, and it will place it into this chest. Then I have it activating a block. This block is this switch here, so it will turn itself off when it's done. So it will make one set, and then it'll turn itself off. Now you don't have to have this in here. You can just remove that. But that's the basic idea. So we're going to have Helv here actually start this. So let's do sneak right click on this, and it's not going to do anything until I pull the lever. And I will show you a little bit of what's going on. And Helv is actually interacting with these blocks instead of these ones. They're just mirrored up there so that you can see exactly the blocks that I'm using. Now, something to be of note, if you have the blocks up here in the world, it's tempting to choose with one of the marking runes on the side of these inventories. It's best in this case, specifically this table here, if you choose the top. Now, if you choose the top of this block, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for it to actually reach unless you've got it sunk into the ground like this or something. But it'll accept just fine on any sides from this one and any sides from most of the other blocks. But the rune scribing table itself definitely needs to be interacted with from above or below. So with that in mind, let's flick the lever and see what happens. So it should take from the chest, put it into the rune forge, which then lights up. You can see it's actually smelting. Then it's going to patrol. Goes over to one spot, waits for a few seconds, goes over to another spot, waits, and then it will take out the blank. In this case, it didn't, because my patrol was not far enough apart from each other. Let's actually take these two pins and see where they're at. Ah, okay. I got in its way, and it made it where it needed to real quick. So let me actually take this off. Sneak click, or just click over here so it'll let go of the stuff. Then sneak click, come over here. You're going to go back to this load star again, buddy, and then I'm going to put your stuff back in. We're going to get this right. But you guys can see how it can get a little bit finicky, but it has specified the items it will pull out of the chest. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to actually take, let's see, this one here. We're going to have it be here, and this one we're going to have to be here, so that it's a couple blocks further away. In fact, I got in its way, and that might have actually influenced it a bit. So we're going to do that. I'm going to take these other patrol ones, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to make it a little bit further. There we go, so that it has that much further to go before it gets to those destinations, and that might be enough time for the item that's in this rune forge to smelt up. So let's start it off again. It's going to grab the item there, it's going to start smelting it, and then it's going to go on its path to walk back and forth while it's on patrol. There we go. And it's completed. Alright, that's much better. See, I think I got in its way. And then it's now going to start smelting. This is what the hammer is for. If you keep clicking on this, it'll update, and you can see its progress. It's actually pretty darn cool. But if you just keep it open, you won't see the progress. I do like that you can actually see the progress, even if you do have to keep refreshing the screen, but you can at least see how well it's doing. And of course, different materials, different power-ups and stuff, if I were to have chosen something, it would make it faster. And you can see it's placed it on the anvil. It's now smelting up the, what is it, the Mithion ingot. Whoa, I got in its way, sorry. And hopefully this will be superheated by the time it's done. There we go, just in time. Okay. Then it's going to put on the forge and use that hammer itself to smash this into the mark. There we are. And then it takes the mark, puts it in the chest, turns itself off. There you go. But you see now, it's pretty darn cool how you can get this to just completely automate an entire setup. Now, there are some things that you might want to take note of. One, I've got no tools currently in this rune scribing table because it has its own hammer hand. Helv hammer hand here is doing work, saving you materials, even though you need to spend a whole bunch of them on all the different runes and stuff like that you've had to have made. Each one of these take and place into a container is at least one of these runes of marking. So that's 1, 2, 3. I've got 19 of those, I believe, currently in this entire setup being used. So yeah, that's quite a setup to do. But hey, after that, you could then automate it. And if you wanted to have a different rune, all you need to do is just change out what the rune scribing recipe is in this case, and then you go into not the forge rune, because that just tells you where to forge it, but in the take item from container at the very end. You'll then need to tell it to take out the new rune. Or you can just have it take whatever container, whatever is in there, without a filter, and it should take anything out of it, which would work as well. So this might save you an extra rune of marking being made in this case. There you go. There's a lot that you can do with these guys. I mean, there's plenty to go. You can see we've got another tree harvest happened while we were doing all this other stuff. Got all this stuff growing. None of it has actually grown because, you know, slow. Minecraft is slow. You can always use your magic spells to grow. But you can see that we've got stuff coming in, going out, being used. Baby cows being grown. Got runes being made. All sorts of stuff that you can do with constructs. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video series. I look forward to coming back to it in the future. Potentially explaining a bit more if needs be, but at the very least, I'm really happy to have had the pleasure of doing a bit by bit on this series. If you enjoyed this video and many of our others, please be sure to give a like, comment below, subscribe to the channel, help us get more subscribers, and spread the mischief. If you guys want, we also have a Twitch channel that we frequent probably about 3, maybe more times a week. Feel free to come visit us there. Till next time, folks. I'll see ya.